All right, I'm Dave Rubin. We are on location in Miami with Miami Mayor Francis Suarez. Mr. Mayor, first off, the shirt matches the shoes, matches the socks. You are living in the synthwave future that was promised to us in the 80s, huh?
That's right, that's right. This is Miami for you, it's Miami style.
This is
absolutely
definitely Miami style. I mean, I guess the best way to start this off is that this place is just blowing up. You gotta be kind of feeling good about life and the world and what you're doing.
Yeah.
Is that the easiest question ever been asked to you before?
It's the most common, that's for sure. Yeah, no, it really is, I think, a generational opportunity, a generational moment. Miami was always a great place. I mean, pre this sort of tech boom, we were growing significantly. We're not a very, we're not a well-kept secret. But I think what is happening now is order of magnitudes different, right? You're now creating a kind of ecosystem and economy that's really going to propel our city into the future. The world is changing. It's changing at a pace of disruption that we've never seen before. Yeah. And we were talking about this a little bit off camera, cities just don't get it oftentimes. They don't understand that things are changing and they're changing permanently and they have to adapt quickly.
When did you get it? I mean, did you know about this sort of shift before you were elected in 2017, or did this just happen?
So I was actually elected in 2009 to the council as a councilman. And for about 10 years, we were trying to create this technological ecosystem. I'm a young elected official for a major city. I'm 43. I was 32 at the time. And I realized that I was the first generation with the smartphone. I was the first generation with laptops, cell phones. And you realize that our world is more and more engulfed by technological tools. I now have a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old, and my 3-year-old just the other night was telling me, "Dad, let's take a selfie with her, we call it a tete in Spanish, with her pacifier. She's taking a selfie with me." So 3 years old. So you realize
cameras and pacifiers. It's on its way.
It's coming.
Yeah.
But you realize that this world is becoming more and more tech focused. And cities have two options. They can either embrace that reality or they can ignore it to their peril and to the peril of their residents.
Were you worried at all that the people were going to come from San Francisco and bring all of the bad policies and ideas that basically wrecked Silicon Valley and wrecked San Francisco?
I hear the worry a lot. I actually don't worry, and I'll tell you why. My family, unfortunately, was exiled from a communist country in Cuba. And I don't see people, getting on rafts and trying to go back to Cuba. You know what I mean? It's just not. The people that come here to Miami are traumatized. They're traumatized by governments that don't work, by policies that don't work. And frankly, the decision to leave a particular city is a very difficult decision, particularly when you have a family. And to uproot your family and say, "I'm going somewhere else," that is not easy. And so for me, I find it very hard to believe that anybody's going to make that very difficult decision, basically trauma-based, right, to come to a new city and then create the same policies that created the conditions for them to want to leave in the first place.
What kind of chaos has it caused in the last year being here? I mean, real estate prices are bananas, rents are going crazy. These are all good set of problems, but it must be a lot for you to just have to manage.
It's interesting. The real estate prices are bananas in homes that are on the water, like this home, you know what I mean? But we're, comparatively speaking, incredibly affordable. So for example, in downtown Miami, the urban core, you can get a 1-bedroom apartment in an unsubsidized, like not affordable housing or anything like that, building, brand new, $1,450. In Manhattan, it's $3,700. In San Francisco, it's $3,700. So you're talking about a 3-to-1 differential. That hasn't changed from one day to the next. And so, and then, we're building a ton of affordable housing. We have the ability to build supply, which cities like San Francisco, the Bay Area oftentimes, and New York can't do because New York is sort of overbuilt and San Francisco has restricted their ability to build. So we have the ability to remain competitive for decades into the future, which I think is a huge competitive advantage for our city.
So I think when most people think of conservatives, they think of some kind of old white guy sitting in a smoking room and, flipping through the Wall Street Journal or something like that. you're a conservative. It seems to me that you're sort of what the future of conservatism is. What does that actually mean to you? Like, what are your kind of guiding principles?
You know, I grew up, I was born in 1977, so I grew up sort of in the 80s.
76, you're a young buck.
There you go. My dad was mayor in 1985 of Miami, and I grew up sort of in the Reagan years. So for me, sort of being a Reagan Republican was someone that was strong on national defense. You know, for me, I believe in having a balanced budget, even though that's something that our federal government has not been able to do for a long time.
Are you guys balanced here?
We are. We actually have a surplus. We have a $150 million surplus in the city of Miami. We have the second highest bond rating we've ever had and the highest we've ever had in the history under my leadership. So it's a AA plus. So, you know, I believe in fiscal responsibility for governments. I think governments should live within their means. I think that, you know, government should be there to facilitate, not obstruct. And oftentimes they are obstructionists. You know, but as a conservative, I also, and as a young person, and someone who sees even young conservatives and young liberals come up concerned about the environment. So I think that's something that, you know, we have to have a better conversation on. Immigration is another issue that, you know, we're a city of immigrants. We're a country of immigrants, you know, and that's you know, another issue I think we need to have a healthier conversation on than the one that we're having right now in the sort of national landscape.
Yeah. Where does the Bitcoin stuff fit in this new future conservative mecca that we've got going
well,
here?
I think
you just did the
Bitcoin-
big conference.
Yeah, we just did the largest Bitcoin conference in the world. We also had FTX, which is a large a crypto trading platform out of Hong Kong, name the arena where the Miami Heat played, $200 million naming deal. We had blockchain.com headquartered in the city of Miami, 300 jobs. And eToro, which is...
Don't forget locals.com moved here.
And locals.com as well, and eToro as well. So, I mean, we've had a ton of crypto companies moving over here, and blockchain and Bitcoin companies moving over here, because we believe, we were sort of the David in this David and Goliath story, right?
Yeah.
But we believe that to have that transformational moment, we had to step outside of the conventional box. Yeah. And I thought that Bitcoin and crypto was our way of doing that. You know, we're the first city in the world, sort of the first city in the United States, second city in the world to put Satoshi's white paper on our website. You know, we're the first city in the world to begin the process of allowing our employees to get paid in Bitcoin. Of allowing.
Do you get all of it, or is it just like you have good people around you? Like, because some of the tech stuff, the high level tech stuff is a lot.
No, I get it. I get it because I sort of have a finance background. My dad was an engineer, is an engineer. My grandfather was an engineer as well. So I get the mathematics behind it. I get the principle behind it. I was actually part of the Florida Blockchain Foundation when it began, and I'm actually part of the Florida Blockchain Task Force named by the CFO of Florida to promulgate state regulations and laws to hopefully to continue to bring crypto to Miami, and to Florida.
Do you have other mayors either in Florida or in the rest of the country that are kind of pissed? They're kind of jealous, like this guy's making it happen, and we're not, either because we're handicapped by our own state governments or whatever it might be?
You know, the ones that probably would be pissed are not calling, you know.
Yeah.
I think they feel like I can't speak for them. They may feel like they're boxed in. They may believe some of the policies that their cities are promulgating that I think are not good for their cities. But I can tell you I've gotten a ton of mayors that call me from across the country, and chambers of commerce from across the country that call me and say, hey, how do we replicate what you're doing down there? And for us, you know, there are some things that are hard to replicate. You know, Miami's kind of hard to replicate. But there are other things that I think are very basic. You know, for us, we have basically our formula for success is three things. Keep taxes as low as humanly possible. While other cities defund police, we're investing in our police, and we have the highest number of police officers ever. So public safety is incredibly important to us. It's something that we sell, being one of the safest big cities in America. And the third thing is we focus on quality of life. We know the fundamental truth that nobody can live yesterday again. So the most important decision that we all make in our lives is where we are this very moment, where we're going to be tomorrow, where we're going to be the day after. And if you create the kind of city that really respects that decision, for example, we have 555 homeless in the city of Miami. We want to get to functional zero, which means we want to be one of the first big cities in America not to have any homeless.
I mean, I've been here for 5 days. I have not seen one homeless person. Yeah. I come from LA. It's very, very different.
It's very different. And I think, you know, we've done a variety of things over a number of years to get to that point. And we want to get to zero.
So like what, for example, what's one thing you've done on the homeless front that I can bring back with me to California?
We have something called the Homeless Trust.
Yeah.
We spend about $50 million a year. It's a food and beverage tax. That's basically a tourist tax that's not paid for by our residents. But it generates money, and we use that money to build facilities, to treat homeless in a comprehensive way. Obviously, a lot of them have mental health and drug addiction issues. and vocational training so that they can leave a shelter with the ability to make a living and reintegrate into society. So they get mental health counseling, they get drug addiction counseling, and they also get vocational training.
When you see the mayors of, say, LA, San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, all the progressive mayors that are just raising taxes, and then you see the reverse of all of the policies that you've got working here, do you ever think maybe I could just call these guys and explain like basic economics to them or something? Like I just never can understand the disconnect between the things that they say and then the results that end up happening.
Well, I can tell you a lot of them are my friends, and I'm going to be, if reelected in November, which hopefully will be a non-event, God willing.
You got elected with 86%, and I mean, what are we going to do? We do 92?
Yeah,
What do you think?
Listen, you got to go up, man. That's it. I'll tell you a funny story about that later. But I think, if reelected, I'm going to be the president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. So one of the cool things is my colleagues, those mayors, have chosen me to be the president of all the mayors in the United States. And I think it's a really wonderful opportunity to take this formula that has been successful in Miami and export it to urban America. I think there's some things that we can do on gun violence. There's some things we can do on homelessness. And frankly, I'm willing to talk to anybody, any mayor, and give them advice, but sometimes I think it's hard because it's either what they believe, which is sort of antithetical to what I think is a growth policy, or what the residents believe, which oftentimes make it hard because they're sort of boxed in.
Right. Where does DeSantis fit into all this? It seems like, from me, 3,000 miles away, that's the best governor in the country right now.
Yeah, so he's, I think he did some things that were very sort of counter-narrative, right, and opened the state up a lot earlier than a lot of people thought would have been a good idea, and it turned out to be great for the city, and certainly great for the state, and he's gotten a ton of kudos on that. And I think, I'm pretty sure that if he's reelected in 2022, which I think is also, he's got a very good shot of that, 2024, I wouldn't be surprised if he puts his name in the ring.
I saw a little glimmer in the eye. I think you might know something there.
Well,
what does that? Where does that put you then?
Look, I've, again, I have to get reelected, and obviously I have a year and a half as hopefully president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, but, I've talked about this in the past. There's only a few things that I'd be interested in doing beyond being mayor, which has been an amazing thing. Being governor of the state of Florida in 2026, that's something that I would certainly consider.
Does it ever seem odd to you that you're governor of all things, like somebody who gets it, like you get business and all of those things? I know there's a lot of good people, usually kind of right-leaning, who just don't want to go into government because they don't believe that government is everything. So then they just don't do it, and then we get worse and worse politicians.
Well, that's part of the problem. Yeah. Government isn't everything and shouldn't be everything. And I think part of the issue we have in our society is people think that government needs to solve all our problems. It's not the way it works. Government was supposed to be created for a limited amount of reasons, the things that we're good at, our core competencies. And then, when you have good leaders that lead in government, they can work with the private sector, with the philanthropic sectors to deal with big problems like homelessness and others. But I think, there's this misperception that you just keep growing the size of government and that it can somehow solve a bunch of problems that government has been historically unable to do.
It put Band-Aids on problems it's created, right? Like
exactly.
That's pretty much it.
Exactly. Or make the problems worse.
Or make them worse. What's been sort of unexpected as this all has blown up here on, I guess, either on good or bad, like just generally like so much at once?
Yeah, for me, if you would have told me on December 3rd, right, that the next day I was going to put out a tweet that was going to be, they call it the tweet heard around the world, the how can I help tweet in terms of making Miami Silicon Valley, and that was going to get 2.7 million impressions organic.
Honestly, I don't think I knew of you until then, and that day suddenly everyone I knew in the tech world was like, that's the guy, that's the city, let's go, and then it's just been...
It's been crazy, and ever since then, I mean, I found what I call in Twitter a portal of positivity, you know what I mean, and I tweeted 800 more times in the month of December. Which got 27 million.
Generally, that's not a good thing, but in your case, it's okay.
For politics, it's usually not a good thing. And it's going to sound really hokey pokey what I'm going to tell you, but in many ways, I found my voice. You know what I mean? It kind of sounds, book clubbish, but I really did. I was able to really express myself, be myself, without the usual concerns and worries that, hey, am I going to make a mistake? Am I going to say something wrong? Usually if you look at elected officials in social media, it's very antiseptic. It's like they went and they cut a ribbon, or they went and they did this. They don't have a personality. They can't really express themselves because they're afraid. They're afraid of making a mistake, of saying the wrong thing. And at some point I just said, you know what? I'm going to go all in. Let's see how this goes. And it's been great. It's been a lot of fun. I've it's part of what allowed me to get into the crypto space as well at the level that I did, because I was really getting great feedback.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what, I got to do more.
Were you kind of shocked? So you put that tweet out, and then it was basically everyone that I know in the tech world was just like, that's it. Were you just shocked that they immediately were like, what can I do? And then you basically just set up meetings with people, right?
I was shocked, but it was also a tremendous learning experience, right? In the sense that I realized what this world was all about now. This world is highly, highly disruptive. I mean, I gotta say this, I don't even know what camera to look into.
Yeah.
This world is
Somewhere over there.
There, here.
Yeah.
This world is highly, highly disruptive, to the point where the paradigm can shift on you in a second.
Yeah.
And I think that's what some of these cities are not completely understanding. And I think that as you see what I call this confluence of capital coming from New York, Silicon Valley, and Miami's geo-position, right? Close to South America and Central America, close to the Middle East, Israel, and Europe. We're sort of in the middle of all that. We're the place that can really be that global mega city that can be what I call the capital of capital. The place where if you want to build a business or start a business, you got to be living in Miami.
Low taxes. Does it all sort of boil down to that at the beginning?
That's a part of the equation, but it's not all of the equation. I mean, I think for us it was low taxes, it's incredible weather, it's incredible amenities from a city perspective. Now the restaurants, everything is sort of coming together. Mm-hmm. And I think, and this is going to sound again sort of crazy, but it's being welcoming, right? I can't tell you the number of people that have told me, look, I would stay living in one of these cities. I'm still paying a lot of taxes. I'm not getting the services. I'm not getting a return on my investment. I'm not getting any stuff. But on top of,
you're just talking right to me now.
But on top of everything else, I'm made to feel like I'm not a good person, right? Like the government officials, the F. Elon Musk, let's criticize Mark Zuckerberg for giving $75 million to a hospital for them wanting to name it after him. Let's push Amazon out of our city. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. And what we've been doing is the opposite. We're like, okay, keep coming, and we're creating thousands of high-paying jobs in our community that are going to have a tri-generational impact. Tri-generational impact. It impacts the person who has a job and their spouse. It impacts their children and their educational opportunities, and it's going to impact their children's children.
How do you make sure that the people that are the natives here in the midst of this, as some prices rise and things like that, don't get pushed out of communities that they're in and that sort of thing?
Yeah, it's a hard challenge, because, and I was actually doing an interview recently where with one of our local papers, and I said, look, it's hard because, the first thing is people sort of complain that there's a lot of income inequality in cities, which is true. It's a problem in urban America. And then you start bringing high-paying jobs, and they say, well, you're going to push out. So it's like, well, what do you want? Do you want high-paying jobs, or do you want, or so how do we deal with income inequality if we don't bring high-paying jobs? And I think that what ties those two things is you got to create an educational framework from young children to university students to young adults who are left out of the tech ecosystem to even the elderly, to create a framework where they can be integrated into this economy. And so we do it with child savings accounts to teach financial literacy. Every single child in kindergarten in the city of Miami gets a child savings account that we fund. Mm-hmm. We do it through a coding program. We just raised through the How Can I Help campaign $70,000 for a coding program in the inner city for robotics and coding. We're helping facilitate a tremendous amount of philanthropy to universities, and even working with some major universities, marquee universities, to try to get partnerships, maybe bridge that reputational gap that we may have. We're doing a tremendous amount of stuff on upskilling, either through vocational training or through companies like Winco that was bought by BrainStation. And then for the elderly, we're working with apps like Papa to make sure that it's relevant to them, this tech boom.
Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned the elderly. I was going to ask you, I think a lot of people think of Florida, but Miami specifically. I tweeted a Golden Girls clip at you yesterday. They think, but this is what. They're not going to do the Golden Girls theme song. That's not going to be the official theme song of Miami. All right, I'll keep working on you on that one. But that people think of Florida as like, oh, that's where old people go to retire.
That was our reputation.
Yeah,
our reputation was we're a sun and fun place or retirement place. And I think what I tried to do with the How Can I Help tweet and beyond was I don't know if you've ever seen the cruise ships turn. Okay, when
literally
when it turns. When a cruise ship comes into port, it comes in this way, and they actually got to turn it to go outward. It actually takes forever, right? Because it's a huge, massive thing. It's like a city that you're turning. I literally got every single tugboat in Miami and turned what was the reputation of Miami, which is like a cruise ship, turning it as fast as possible. So we could create two new industries in technology and finance that are high paying and they're going to propel us into the future and make us a city of the future.
All right, 2 more things for you, and then I'm going to join you in just a moment. We're going to flip the script here.
All right, I love it.
So first off, I'm moving my company locals down here. We're hiring right now.
it.
We're hiring right now. What can we do to get word out there? I mean, what kind of resources are there as companies move down here?
Well, first of all, what we're doing right now is the number one thing we can do, which is, you have to. I've learned after 12 years. This is why these podcasts are so have gotten so much. Play, right, is because we're in the storytelling business, right? I'm in the storytelling business. I realized this after 12 years of being in politics. Like, I am now a storyteller.
Right.
And the story is the narrative of what Miami is and what Miami is going to be. And so just this podcast and the one that we're going to do on the Cafecito Tech Talk continue to tell that story to a point where people may have doubted it at the beginning. This is just going to be a COVID thing, or this is just going to be in the summer everybody will leave. But when you keep telling the story over and over again, you pile on success after success after success, the perception becomes a reality. You marry perception with reality. So that's really important. I think one of the things that we want them to know is we're setting up funds. We have a fund already through the Downtown Development Authority that gives, as opposed to kicking out a company, we give companies $50,000 a year for 3 years that locate in downtown Miami. We're hopefully creating a fund called Venture Miami, which will be hopefully an early stage seed fund, which we're going to have somewhere between $2 and $5 million a year over the next 2 years to help early stage companies grow, which oftentimes, they're the ones that have the hardest time, with the mom and pop. And so so we're trying to do everything we can to accelerate this ecosystem growth.
Then my final question for you is, if I make the move, if I just can't take Cali anymore, I make the move myself, can you hook me up with a house like this?
When you make the move, we will do everything that we can. We like to have that.
All right, I'll take it.
We like to have that red carpet service. We call it, concierge service. So, So
that's pretty much the limit of what a mayor can say.
Well, I can't give you the house, but I can put you in touch with people who may want to sell you a house like this.
Mayor Suarez, thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Be sure to subscribe and rate this podcast. And don't forget, you can watch my direct messages live on Blaze TV and YouTube every weekday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And of course, if you want to connect with me personally and get early access to my sit-down interviews, join RubinReport.locals.com.